Hi, and welcome back to the David Shipley Alexander Infinite Energy series. Today is video 30, and it is a little different than what you expected us to do when we finished our last video.
That is correct. I predicted this video would be different and memorable, and it is, because we're trying something new. It's called a reaction video, but we're watching pieces of the video we're showing and then reacting, that is, giving our comments on that particular video.
That's exactly right. And here is a picture of Dr. Robert Holcomb, and we are coming right back to discuss his video about how his infinite energy device, which he claims to have invented, is working.
And he drank my wine. Me and my magic man kind of feeling fine.
Let's get right into it. So this is the video explaining the core of his invention, his technology. It's how the Holcomb Energy System works. That's his title for his video.
And in parentheses it says, with no fuel, no emissions, no moving parts. That it is from the Holcomb Energy System YouTube channel. So let's go.
Hello, I'm Dr. Robert Holcomb, the inventor of the Holcomb Energy System. Many people ask, what is the fuel source of the Holcomb Energy System? Does it ever run out? The fuel source is the material from which it is made, electrical steel. And no, it never runs out. It's the natural energy force of the universe, just like the energy that keeps the stellar bodies of the universe in motion never runs out.
Let me explain. Wow, oh, okay. So David, he actually says that the fuel source for his device is the material from which it is made, the electrical steel, and that it lasts for forever.
Right, that's what he says.
Wow, that is the dream of every infinite energy researcher ever, right?
Well, he's talking about electrical steel, which is 98% iron, and that's what he's saying, is iron is the basis of his technology. So iron is a very common element. He could have developed a technology based on some rare element, which would be not very useful to us. But he's focused on the element iron. Iron is everywhere, from buildings to flywheels to cars to railroad tracks. Iron, and that's one of the dramatic aspects of what he's done.
Right. So it's like you don't have to, it's not a funky metal or funky element that you only can create in a particle accelerator. It's not, don't have to go to Krypton to find it. So it's I think you said it's the second
most common metal on the surface of the Earth. So
it's better than lithium and all that stuff to use. Okay. All right. So let's see what else he has to say.
Let's take a look inside the generator rotor pole to see where the energy that fuels the Holcomb Energy System actually comes from. Here are the rotor coils which generate the spinning magnetic fields. These magnetic fields, in turn, generate the power in the stator coils. Now let's look around. The electrical steel from which these poles are made consists primarily of iron atoms.
Okay, so he keeps talking about iron. And so I know, David, that I mean, when we first started talking and hanging out, I remember you telling me that you have a special thing for iron, and that it also occupies a special place in the periodic table of the elements. You want to say something about that?
Well, if you look at the so-called binding mass or binding energy of the elements, iron is the most stable element. It's at the top of that curve. And lighter elements, in theory, can fuse in the nuclear sense. Heavier elements can fission in the nuclear sense. But iron is a very, very stable element. So it's kind of interesting, and that stability is why it's prevalent. It's prevalent astronomically for as far as the heavy elements go, and it's second most abundant element, second most abundant metal on Earth.
On Earth, and so you wouldn't go as far as to say that it is the only element that won't go into fusion or fission, but it is right there in the sweet spot.
Right in the sweet spot, yeah.
And another thing that iron is used for is by our bodies, right?
That's right. That's part of the red blood, the hemoglobin that carries oxygen. It's got that iron atom in the middle of it, so
that helps bring
keeps us alive.
Infinite energy to our cells.
Right.
All right. Are we good to go on?
I think so.
All right.
The atoms form molecules, and these molecules make up the electrical steel. The iron atoms contain a nucleus made of protons and neutrons. A cloud of electrons swarm around the nucleus. Now, the majority of electrons are made up of what we call paired electrons. These paired electrons do not form magnetic poles, but the remaining 4 electrons are unpaired. The unpaired electrons spin in independent orbitals, which generate magnetic poles, both north and south pole.
Okay, so he talks about these unpaired electrons in iron. What is it about these unpaired electrons, David? It sounds like that is what allows iron to have the magnetic properties it does.
Correct. A long time ago, when I had my freshman chemistry course in college, I could have talked more about it. That's many decades ago. But that's part of the chemistry of iron and other elements, that not all the electrons in the orbits of the atom are paired. Some are unpaired. And these are the ones that contribute to magnetism, make it a magnetic metal. So that's what he's focused on.
Okay, and so also when he shows the animation of his generator there, he talks about the rotor coils and the stator coils, and obviously this thing actually has no moving parts, as the title says. So it's not, in the traditional sense of the word, a stator coil and a rotor coil like we would have in a moving motor.
Well, that's part of the dramatic features of what he's created. That first of all, he's inverted the names. The rotors on the outside and the stators on the inside. Normally, in normal language, it's the other way around. But there's no mechanical moving parts. The moving parts are the spins of the electrons.
So he's simulating it through alternating magnetic fields, which I find really, really interesting. But he'll say more about that later in the video. Let's see what he's got.
Let's look at a simplified example of how an electron rotating around the nucleus of the atom creates polar magnetic fields. The paired electrons together cancel their magnetic poles. However, the unpaired electrons do create magnetic poles, which makes these iron atoms magnetic. Here are images from an exciting study published in the summer of 2019 in the journal Nature Physics. The authors were able to image the magnetic cloud generated by unpaired electrons in an atom of metal.
That is imagery of the magnetic field surrounding one atom of metal. Can you imagine that we can do that? It's amazing.
Right. So that is adding, it gives a picture of what he's talking about.
Actually, David, I think we need to see that. I want to see that again. That atom.
We'll do that. Yeah.
Let's see.
Here are images from an exciting study published in the summer of 2019 in the journal Nature Physics. The authors were able to image the magnetic cloud generated by unpaired electrons in an atom of metal. A group of atoms in the metal will become magnetically aligned. However, the various groups will be misaligned. These misaligned groups are called magnetic domains. Domains may be magnetically aligned by a weak electromagnetic field, but when the domains become aligned, the resulting magnetic fields become 4 to 5 times stronger than the fields required to align the domain. Using this principle, the unique design of the Holcomb Energy System harnesses and magnifies the electrical energy input by 400 to 500%.
Wow. Okay. So this animation shows us how iron atoms within a small domain of iron are magnetically aligned with each other within the domain, but how the magnetic alignment of the atoms between the different domains are not aligned, right?
Correct. The domains are small, on the order of microns.
Okay.
I don't know if they could be bigger than that.
But generally they're down in the dimension
Very
of
small,
microns.
right.
I think I also got to say I think the animations he has in this video are really cool. I love the animation of the generator and the rotating magnetic fields and the iron atoms.
The
and so
animations are excellent. They really carry the picture of what he's describing.
the resulting, when he gets these domains, magnetic domains that are pointing in all kinds of different directions, to align, the resulting magnetic field is 4 to 5 times stronger than the field he needs to use to flip them to that alignment.
That's what he's saying. Again, these are what he's claiming, and that claim puts his invention right in the theme of what we present in our videos. Since video 14, after that one, and ones previous to that, we're talking about, it could be called free energy or infinite energy, which in my vocabulary, they're the same. And this again is in that group, is in that type of invention. This is real. We presented many of these already. This is another. And there are people out there that would say, well, you can't do that. They talk about a so-called law of conservation of energy. But I'm here to tell you that that is a fallacy that was put into science 200 years ago. It doesn't exist. And the universe doesn't work that way. It works by moving energy, for example, out of the 0-point field. And we showed in another earlier video the amount of energy calculated in the 0-point field. You write the number 1 and then 109 zeros, and it's that many joules per cubic centimeter, which, you know, that big. So that is what he's come up with. This it's generally called Overunity. You put in 1 unit he gets out 5. Now, one of those 5 replaces the 1, but then he's got a 400% excess, factor of 4.
Yeah, and I mean, so, you know, the presentation looks great. We don't know that this works yet, but we've seen in some of the other videos, we've been perusing some of the videos on their YouTube channel, and in one of them he does show previous iterations of his invention.
Right.
And so, I mean, this guy has really been at it. I think, how many years does he say he's been working in this?
More than 15, I don't remember the number.
More than 15, and he started with mechanical generators that were actually rotating, and in one of the videos, which he dedicates to the late musician, American singer Eva Cassidy, he says he moved to a static mechanism because he doesn't like noise. I think that's awesome. It's like one of our good friends was talking about how weaponized our society and the planet really is against these kinds of invention.
Well, it would be good if Dr. Holcomb would read Peter Lindemann's article, The World of Free Energy, in which I met Peter Lindemann once. He explains why we don't have free energy in a widespread form today.
Right, and in so many of our videos, you know, we see the same story. Somebody comes up with something that, you know, promise to take control out of the hands of some very powerful people and give it to we the people, like you like to say.
Well, anything of this type needs a lot of prayers to protect it.
I think that's
and support
right.
it.
Peter Lindemann said infinite energy was...
He says, and this is was the last words in way back when I made video number 1. Peter Lindemann said, he called it free energy. He said, free energy is a gift from God. And I totally agree with that.
So, yeah, again, if this is real, let's hope that the Holcomb team is able to treat it as such and keep the invention feasible. All right, let's keep going.
The amount of magnetic flux off the rotor is directly proportional to the power generated by the stator. Therefore, it only takes 1 unit of electric power input to put out 5 units of power output by the Holcomb Energy System. The remaining 4 units of power is provided by the magnetic domains within the steel as they are aligned by the weak electromagnetic input field. We demonstrated this conclusively in a simple experiment in our laboratory. We have 2 identical setups. Only one is made of plexiglass, which has no magnetic properties, and the other is made of electrical steel. The copper coil windings in both are identical, and both are on the same electrical circuit, simultaneously running at the same time. I wanted to compare the magnetic flux in both units. Magnetic flux drives the electrons in the stator in power generation. I confirmed that the flux coming off the unit made of electrical steel is 4 times greater than the identical unit made of plexiglass. This clearly demonstrates that the power in the Holcomb Energy System is coming from the electron spin and the atoms making up the electrical steel.
Okay, David. I'd say in that experiment, that's a very simple setup.
That nailed it right there. He brought it down to the simplest experiment he could do to show that electrical steel, which is mainly iron, that's the key element. That's what's making it happen.
Right, and so the same power supply, same current flowing through both coils.
Right.
Only one is plexiglass. I guess it might as well have been cardboard.
Yeah.
And the other one shows that the electrical steel is actually amplifying this as the current flows through that coil inside.
I've developed a way to harvest that energy by generating relatively weak magnetic fields which align the tiny magnetic domains inside the electrical steel to become even more powerful as they form strong, moving magnetic poles. So what is the significance of this? It means we no longer have to mine or frack or drill to have our modern world.
David. Okay, this is the dream behind everything we do in this video series, right? Everything you've been done since when did you start your quest for infinite energy?
45 years ago. And now in the age of the internet, many more things get known, more widespread.
It's easier to distribute the information. But he's saying no fuel, no mining, no emission, no fracking, and no drilling.
Right. And a device, whether it's Dr. Holcomb's or some other type of thing that has this Overunity output, that's freedom. Once you're not connected to the power grid, you're not connected to the fuel deliveries, that's freedom. And that's another reason that it's strongly opposed.
And that's what we want. Freedom of energy.
So at this point, you know, what we've seen in Dr. Holcomb's video, I would call what he's saying highly plausible.
And I know you've been looking at some of his other videos as well,
Yeah,
and
right.
that has helped you to reach that conclusion.
Right. When there's more information available, then it goes from highly plausible to being highly true.
Highly true, yeah. You early on, you started out by telling me these different things that you have realized will be in or parts of a system of infinite energy. And as far as I can tell, he's got all of them, and they are...
Right. That's been apparent from way back in our early videos and my early looking into this whole area.
Long before even I came on board, right?
One thing that's very common to all these inventions is rotation. Something rotates. Now, Dr. Holcomb's, what he's claiming, there's no mechanical rotation. It's all electrons. And not only that, it's the way the electrons are spinning. So that's part of it. The other is that there would be magnetic fields. He's got that.
Check. And you also said that once infinite energy is discovered and made widely available, we will see that it was common, right?
Right. We know people have a very intuitive insight into things, and some of them told me, we're going to see that it's everywhere.
Right, and you reminded me that they also, when we acquired these old magnetic tube tape recorders, reel-to-reel tape recorders, they had talked to you about how...
They said what happens in the old-fashioned magnetic tape recorder is related to what will be found in the
in a free energy device.
Device, right.
And so, of course, the tape head on this tape recorder is aligning iron atoms.
Well, it's iron and iron oxide here, but who knows? It could be more similar than we think.
All right. Well, let's finish the video.
The energy to fuel our world has been all around us all this time. Electrical steel is made of iron, and iron happens to be one of the most abundant minerals on Earth. I've discovered a way to harness the energy from the spinning electrons in the atoms that make up the electrical steel and turn it into usable electricity. That's the energy force that drives the Holcomb Energy System. It never runs out. In fact, it's been with us all this time and will be with us forever.
Okay, wow. All right, let's again say we hope it's true, and once we learn more, we'll let you guys know. And
Absolutely. Yeah.
God bless Dr. Holcomb and his team, and
We will say, see you next video.